So my hello to all my dear resident students of psychiatry. So today's topic is a masterclass for psychiatry residents. I've taken a small topic, biology of ADHD. We are asked very often these type of questions: neurobiology of depression, neurobiology of schizophrenia, and biology of ADHD in MD exams and in DNB exam as a 10 marks question. As you are knowing about these master classes, I would like to add this is just a teaching lecture for psychiatry students and not a webinar or a seminar or a presentation for the already psychiatrist people. Okay, so it is not anything new in the knowledge, it is just existing knowledge, basic revision, basic understanding of the topic, and more important for your exam preparation point of view. For your exam, how do you write a question on biology of ADHD? So let's start with our lecture notes. The topic is biology of ADHD. We all know ADHD stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, which is characterized by a triad of hyperactivity, inattention, and impulsivity. Now, this is what you know as an undergraduate student. Now, taking you further, inattention is again selective attention and sustained attention and problem solving. So all these symptoms are linked to different parts in the brain. Hyperactivity is linked to prefrontal motor cortex. Selective attention is linked to dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. This is linked to DLPFC, very famous in psychiatry, known as dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. And impulsivity is linked to orbitofrontal cortex. What do I mean by the word when I mean linked to? So in your exam, when you'll write your answer, you write like this: neuroanatomy of ADHD, 4 parts involved. Write your answer like this: OFC or orbitofrontal cortex, dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. You are supposed to write in the exam as full forms: DLPFC and prefrontal motor cortex. When you write, you also can mention in front of each like this: impulsivity, selective attention, sustained attention, and problem solving, and hyperactivity. Then the next heading you are supposed to give is circuit. ADHD is caused due to failure of activation of CSTC loop. Now this CSTC stands for corticotropin striato-thalamocortical loop, okay, which leads to inefficient information processing. Okay, in order to understand, we can link the symptoms to the four loops based on the four areas we mentioned. For example, the first loop is starting from dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, going to striatum, going to thalamus, and back to the cortex. Now, lack of activation, or you can call arousal, in this loop leads to which symptom of ADHD? Difficulty in following through or finishing task. Understand, what do you mean by sustaining attention? Attention can be drawn and has to be sustained in order to finish a task or follow up how much I have done. Now this part function, sustaining attention, is due to effective information processing involving CSTC loop with cortical primary center as DLPFC. When this information processing is not normal, the person cannot follow up or finish the task. And if you people know that DLPFC is the part responsible for executive functions. Executive functions include planning, organizing, sequencing, abstracting. So hence, problem in this lead to disorganization, poor planning, and and difficulty in sustaining a mental effort. So we are linking symptoms with the part and the area involved in brain. This is how you are supposed to write and present and understand an answer related to neurobiology. We know that ADHD child is hyperactive, but what is the cause of that hyperactivity? What is the cause of that inattention? That is what is included under biology. Okay, let's understand the second loop. Second loop starts from dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, goes to striatum, again to thalamus, and back to dorsal ACC. Okay, problems in this loop leads to which symptom of ADHD? Okay, unable to give attention to details, unable to give attention to details, making careless mistakes. Sometimes you student also say, oh sir, I made a silly mistake, I didn't read except, I didn't read is, I didn't read the comma. That is careless mistake. Not listening, getting easily distracted, forgetting things, and very important, losing things. All these symptoms are related to inattention only. Then comes to the third loop. It starts from orbitofrontal cortex to striatum, again to thalamus, back to OFC. OFC problem leads to impulsivity. What do you mean by impulsivity? Can't wait for one's turn, talks excessively, blurts the answer, and interrupts others or disturb other children in the class. The fourth of this is prefrontal motor cortex. Again, from there to striatum, from there to thalamus, and from there to back to prefrontal motor cortex. This loop leads to symptoms of fidgety, can't sit at one place, this boy can't play quietly, okay, can't play quietly, can't sit at one place, always running and climbing. So we have linked almost close to 15-20 symptoms to 4 different brain parts. This is the neuroanatomy. Now moving on from neuroanatomy to neurophysiology. Neurophysiology of ADHD says that there is dysregulation of norepinephrine and dopaminergic system, the neurotransmitter involved, which results in ineffective tuning of pyramidal neurons in the prefrontal cortex. Okay, in response to tasks needing attention. Understand, ADHD happens because the norepinephrine dopaminergic system does not let effective information processing in these particular circuits or the pathways. So the pyramidal neurons are not firing in tune. Okay, what they say is norepinephrine and dopamine are needed for prefrontal cortex functioning, and norepinephrine and dopamine optimal firing. Optical firing means tonic firing leads to optimal function. Both decrease of norepinephrine dopamine and increase of norepinephrine dopamine lead to inefficient information processing. Both of these lead to inefficient information processing. How? How it is so? Norepinephrine binding to alpha 2A receptors and dopamine binding to D1 receptors. This enhances signal and increases attention, and this decreases noise to avoid distraction. Hence, we say that pyramidal neurons functioning, we have to have optimal norepinephrine and dopamine. Low norepinephrine to dopamine leads to inattention, and high norepinephrine dopamine leads to phasic firing. Okay, this is again inefficient processing. Understand the difference between tonic firing and phasic firing. Tonic firing is required for effective information processing. When dopamine is having phasic firing, it is linked to the dopaminergic reward system related to nucleus accumbens. So we need norepinephrine and dopamine in optimal proportion. Why? Norepinephrine to dopamine is directly proportional to signal is to noise. This is the concept. We need an attention based signal to stay. It should not go so that the attention can be sustained, and we need distraction to be avoided so that the noise is less. Even it has been linked chemically also in the dendritic cell. There are receptors. This is alpha 2A, this is dopamine. The norepinephrine binds to alpha 2A receptor, which is linked to cyclic AMP. Okay, and this helps in signal transmission through this channel. Okay, this is hyperpolarization activated cation channel. So when norepinephrine binds to alpha 2A via cyclic AMP, the signal strength is increased. This is a G inhibitory protein, and dopamine binds to D1 receptor via G stimulatory protein, and it decreases the noise. This is the chemical explanation of how norepinephrine increases the signal and dopamine decreases the noise. Hence, the chemical attribution of norepinephrine and dopamine is linked to signal and noise in ADHD information processing. So let us summarize from neuroanatomy to neurophysiology and to a little bit of chemistry. What do we understand about biology of ADHD? neuroanatomy, 4 brain areas involved. We have already mentioned their names. Okay, main involvement is CSTC loop, neurochemistry, norepinephrine is to dopamine system, and neurophysiology and neurochemistry related to norepinephrine binding to alpha 2A receptor, dopamine binding to D1 receptor, both working via cyclic AMP and hyperpolarization activated cation channel. Okay, this is a summary of biology of ADHD. Why the symptoms happen? Why the symptoms happen? This is how you are supposed to write this question in your exam. It may be heavy topic for the beginners, but this is how it goes. These are the 2 pages notes which you are supposed to learn and write in the exam. Okay, I'm making many much more such videos. This is the first one in the sequence, and many more such videos related to child psychiatry, smaller topics will be coming. Thank you for listening.